Hi, I'm Greg Dell with Dell Disability Lawyers here with attorney Cesar Gavidia, and we have the opportunity to talk about Illinois Mutual today. And this is going to be a case that you've resolved for a claimant. And Illinois Mutual is one of the babies in the industry, really small boutique type insurance company for disability policies. So we've handled many cases against them over the years, and actually been to their headquarters and deposed
Peoria,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, deposed them. Not too much recently. It's not someone we see all the time, but when it does come about, they can be challenging cases. So let's hear about the background of this case, what you were able to do, and then provide some tips for people so they can learn from this case to help them avoid a denial in the future.
Yeah, so Greg, our client, he'd purchased this individual disability insurance policy through Illinois Mutual Life Insurance Company. Like you said, they're one of the kind of smaller boutique disability insurance companies out there. They're based out of Peoria, Illinois, and really they have, in terms of size and in their personnel and their staffing for people who review claims. I mean, we're very familiar with a lot of these people because they've been there a long time. They've been employed and working with Illinois Mutual for a number of years. We see them kind of rotationally on disability claims when we've been hired to either assist someone with an application or with the denial of benefits. And in this case, it happened to be a denial of benefits. And our client was a service manager for Tire Kingdom. And at some point, he decided, probably encountered an insurance broker in town, and actually he was based out of Florida, that said, hey, it's a good idea. You're in an occupation where you're on your feet all the time. You're kind of around a lot of, heavy machinery and things like that, and cars. Probably a good idea for you to have a disability insurance policy. He purchased it, insured himself pretty well for what he was earning, and for a number of years was paying his premium dutifully and on time to ensure that his policy remained in force. He started developing back issues and really dealing with odd neurological issues, post-concussion issues from likely, they don't know for sure, but he played youth football and had been concussed a few times as a result, and was having memory issues, was having issues related to headaches, chronic headaches that he was experiencing, but really, the issues going on with his back. He just couldn't stay on his feet for long periods of time, and was becoming kind of disoriented with the headaches and things. So things going on in his cervical spine and his lumbar spine, really quite a bit of a mess. But he continued to try to push through and work. He really loved where he worked. He kind of had risen up to being a service manager, which is a top tier there with the company. When he decided to stop working on the advice of his physicians and those treatment providers that were caring for him, it was really difficult for him to do. But it was obviously necessary because he was just not really able to push through anymore. And so he submitted his disability claim to Illinois Mutual, and
He did that on his own?
he did it on his own. He submitted his own application. Really didn't think it was going to be a big problem or not. Oftentimes we'll see claimants reach out to their insurance brokers, say, hey, can you help me out with this? I have this disability claim. Do you think I should submit something? Sometimes an insurance broker will do it and assist them. They didn't in this case. It's also not often a good idea for them to do it because there could be what could be seen as a conflict of interest there for the insurance agent to help the individual submit their own disability claim, which is why we end up doing it for them. We kind of know the ins and outs of the claims handling process and the application process, but he did it on his own and was actually successful. He was successful, at least initially, in getting his claim approved. As soon as it was approved, they stuck this label on it and I know you probably already know what it is. It's reservation of rights. So while we continue our
They always do that, though.
Yeah. So, and it's basically we haven't come to an ultimate conclusion about whether you're medically eligible for these total disability benefits. But in the meantime, we'll agree to pay you, but we're not admitting or accepting liability.
They do that because they're worried about a bad faith claim,
Right.
which is a separate tort, and so they feel like, and they are protecting themselves by saying, we're not admitting, we're not denying liability, but we'll pay you. And if an insurance company pays, then there's no extra contractual damages.
Right, and look, I wouldn't discourage an insurance company from doing that,
Right.
especially if it's before they come to or complete their medical review, because it is helping the claimant out, receiving those benefits. And sometimes when we've seen a claim go on for a period of time, longer than 3-4 months, and they're still reviewing it, we may reach out to the company and say, look, at least while this review is pending, at least pay them under reservation of rights. They don't have any income coming in. In this case, Illinois Mutual did that on their own. They had assigned a board-certified orthopedic surgeon to review the medical file, and they came back that they didn't find, based on their review of the medical records, that there were any specific restrictions and limitations. What that means, I don't know, specific. But based on that decision, Illinois Mutual terminated those benefits. So without doing really anything beyond that, they said, we're done. We're not continuing these benefit payments any further based on this opinion from our doctor. And at that point, he reached out to us.
So at that point in time, it was an individual disability policy. You had the opportunity to go ahead and sue them, correct?
I mean, theoretically, we could have done that immediately at that point in time. But knowing kind of the company, Illinois Mutual, and our success and my specific success with them in sometimes pushing them further, having them look at and consider new information, or in this case, actually them sending him to an IME, which doesn't always work out, but it's something they wanted to do. When we went back and said, look, I want you to look at new information, these additional records, this additional form from his doctor that he completed that's more specific to this question of restrictions and limitations. Their response, and which is always a risk, their response was, well, we want to do an IME. So my response to that, our response to that was, if you want to do an examination of our client, we want to ensure our client's rights are protected during this. We want to ensure that the integrity of this examination is intact. And so we requested, or really required, being that it was in Florida, we could push it, that the examination be videotaped by our videographer, not something that we share with the insurance company. It's for our own, for our client's benefit in terms of protecting them.
And was that allowed?
So it actually took a few rounds with them. They reached out to several independent medical doctors. I think they went through about 2 or 3 before they found one that said, yeah, we'll agree to the videographer.
Isn't that strange? They had to go to 3 or 4 of these hired gun doctors because they didn't want to be on video?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really odd that you would think that from the doctor's standpoint, why not? What do I have to hide? I mean, my examinations are honest, they're complete, they're thorough, and also it removes any question of any liability for the doctor potentially, right, if they're doing it in that manner.
So think about that. Just by you requesting the right to have it videoed, that you shook out 3 or 4 of these hired gun doctors. Because they knew, well, I can't mislead or misrepresent anything if it's on video.
Right.
So that was a victory in itself. So they finally found a doctor.
Right. So they found a doctor, and it was a doctor that wasn't necessarily very close to where our client lived, but transportation was coordinated. We got him there. He underwent the exam. It was videotaped. The exam, in my opinion, went very well, which is really rare that we find a doctor that's going to be honest and conduct a thorough exam, and they did, and they found that the restrictions and limitations, that there were indeed restrictions and limitations that he had from standing and really being able to function and perform his occupation, because this was an own occupation policy. We didn't really touch on that, but we will, how specific this definition of disability was to his own occupation, and that he couldn't possibly perform an occupation where he had to stand on his feet for 8 hours a day or several hours a day.
So what, besides getting them to agree to the IME and you agreed on the doctor, what else did you have to do in this particular claim?
Well, there was, like I said, when we engaged them and got the claim file and went through and really wanted to get down to what exactly does this doctor mean that there's not specific restrictions and limitations, and providing those additional medical records and additional claim forms, which I knew perhaps wasn't going to change the tide or change the opinion of Illinois Mutual or their doctor. I knew it would probably take an extra step, but being that this is an individual claim, I think they have more flexibility to be able to say on a review, on a reconsideration like this, that look, we want to send him to an IME. There are no rules like in ERISA cases where they may not be able to do that at a second go around or second look.
But one of the advantages of the way in which you handled it, many lawyers, especially lawyers who don't practice in this area of law, who really shouldn't even touch these kinds of cases, but if they do, they'd be like, we're going to sue them.
Right.
And if you start engaging in the lawsuit right away, first of all, you're looking at a minimum 9 months of time, and a lot of more disruption for the claimant that doesn't really have to take place between interrogatories, requests for productions, requests for admissions, and then having their deposition taken, and then all these other witnesses, and it ends up spending more money in attorney's fees and costs and more pressure, and dynamics of the case change. So I know our strategy, no matter who the carrier is, because we have these contacts / earned a reputation of battling with all these companies, it's like, hey, look, we're in opposite sides of this business. We can make each other's lives miserable and sue each other constantly and spend lots of time and millions of dollars in attorney's fees, or when these cases come about, we can try to amicably reach a resolution. And you knew the route to go to do that, to try to get through to them and get it done, and luckily it was done, and I know you did it relatively quickly compared to someone who would have to wait for 9 months. So that was a significant benefit to the claimant. And some people may say, you got it done so quickly, you didn't do a lot. But what would a claimant rather have? Would they rather it drag on for 1.5 years and 2 years with no payments coming in, or would they rather have a lawyer who knows how to get it done in an expedient manner and then get the results done?
Well, and you also have to consider, look, there's certainly there's a different, it changes the whole dynamic in the whole claim, really, the whole process of everything. Once they see that they're being represented by a lawyer who's, really focused and experienced in this area. I think at that point, they know that they have to conduct themselves completely differently.
Right.
They know that as you were mentioning earlier about bad faith laws and things like that, those things suddenly come to the top in terms of their priority list and their concerns, and the case immediately demands more of their attention, and really acting in a more prudent and reasonable manner.
Well, I know Illinois Mutual has they have some decent disability policies. A lot of chiropractors have bought their policies, and I was actually surprised to see this service manager, because did this particular claimant not have an ERISA policy through his employer or a group benefit?
No, I think maybe that was one of the pitches to him by his insurance agent. And you got to really give credit to this insurance agent that got this policy to him, because had he not had this, I mean, where would he be now? Possibly just collecting Social Security disability or something else, which under this policy, he could collect that and his disability benefit. So essentially be able to continue living his life with the same quality of life in terms of his financial status and things, and not have to worry about it.
Right. Well, that's the beauty of having a good insurance agent who sells you a decent product that protects you when you need it. Unfortunately for our client, when he needed it, they let him down, and then he had to have representation, and now he's back in the good spot where he needed to be to protect his income and his benefits. So congratulations on the claim, and I know you'll continue to represent him to protect it, because they can pull the plug on him at any time.
Sure.
So if you're someone out there who has an Illinois Mutual disability policy, feel free to reach out to Cesar or myself. No matter where you live in the country, we're available to assist you, and we look forward to the opportunity to provide you with a free phone consultation. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the Managing Attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process. And when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search. Plus, we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim. And we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.